Okay, we're going to be talking about vocabulary for the new GRE, and this is important because the way that you're going to be approaching vocabulary for the new GRE is going to be a little bit different from the way you approached it for the old GRE. Part of the reason, or maybe the big reason, is context. What the new GRE is doing is it's testing your ability to understand how words function in a sentence. So if you thought that getting into GRE studying meant that you're going to sit back in your room and have this big deck of flashcards from Kaplan's or Barron's. No, things have changed a little bit. That doesn't mean you want to throw away your flashcards necessarily, but if that's going to be your only method, the new GRE is going to be really difficult. You're going to want to do some other approaches to learning vocabulary. And in order to learn in context, to understand how words function in sentences, you have to be reading a lot. So in conjunction with vocab lists, you should always be looking up words to see how they function in sentences. Now the question is, where are you going to be looking at these words? What are the sources? And that's a little bit about what I'm going to talk about today. So in terms of where do you look, there are certain journals, newspapers, periodicals that are published in the US that we'll just say the GRE likes them. I'm going to assume that the ETS people read from these journals. So we too want to read from these newspapers, magazines, and journals. Now, first one off the top of my head is the New Yorker. It is a magazine that comes out every week, has a variety of articles from different walks of life, politics, science, etc. Now, when you're reading, let's say from the New Yorker, you're reading something about science, you're going to notice a lot of words you don't know. And the idea is that you're going to be learning these words in context now. You're going to look up the words in a dictionary, or if you have WordSmart by Princeton Review, book I've plugged many times, you're going to see, hey, is it in WordSmart? And you're going to see how that word functions in other sentences. So the idea is you're really wrapping your head around vocab words. You're not cramming. You're not saying, wow, I can list off the definition for 3,500 words. Again, that's not going to help you as much with the new GRE. So whether it's the New Yorker, the Atlantic Monthly, you're going to be proactive, you're going to go out there, and you're going to find these words, you're going to make them part of your own universe of words, if you will. And you can back them up with index cards, with flashcards. But something I really like to do, especially for those of you who have smartphones and are on the go, there's a website called Quizlet.com. That's spelled Quizlet.com. And you get to make your own flashcards in there. So let's say you read this amazing article in the New Yorker about the evolution of grasshoppers, something totally random, which is what they usually write about. And you have 25 words now. You want to say, wow, I learned those words, I've looked them up, but I don't want to forget them. What do I do? Well, you go to Quizlet, you make an account, you enter all these 25 words in, you put in your own little definitions, and anything else you want to remind yourself of the word, and next thing you know, you have your own flashcards online. What's also great is you don't have to run out and buy Barron's or Kaplan's flashcards. They already have those on the site, and it's free. So what better way to learn than Quizlet.com? So you can already see that we're moving away from the flashcard way of working. Now this way is great, and I want to encourage people to constantly do this. And of course, if you've read my blog recently, you can see I've gone through many magazines and have highlighted words, and I've had students go through there and see if they can, of course, figure out what those words mean, and if not, look those words up. So the question then becomes, well, wait a second, I only have a week. I don't even have time to read. I don't have time to read 18-page article on grasshoppers. And that's definitely true. We're all coming to the new GRE with different needs, with different time frames. So if you only have a week, then as much as possible, go to Quizlet.com and learn the words that are already there. But again, as much as possible, if a word is confusing, if you know the definition because you're reading it word for word, but you wouldn't actually be able to identify that word in a sentence, then you haven't learned that word. So in those harder cases, make sure to look those words up online. And a great place is wordnik.com, WORDNIK.com. And they have example sentences upon example sentences actually taken from the web. So if, let's say, the word you don't know is truculent, and you really want to see it used in an example sentence, you go to WordNik, and now you have all these great example sentences to your right. Use that in conjunction with Quizlet.com, and in a week, hopefully you can learn as many words as possible. I would say definitely stick to the list, because it's better that you learn from lists that have already been pre-made for you versus than kind of venturing out there and learning words as you go. Now, if you have a month, then you can start moving back to this method that we talked about earlier, which is, of course, is reading, learning vocab that way. If you have more time, you can, of course, invest that time in picking out these words from these articles and then getting a sense of, are they used a lot as well? Are they encountered in WordSmart? Are they encountered in books like 1101 Words You Have to Know by Behrens, which is not the same as 3500 Word List by Behrens. There's also another book called Building or Improving Your Vocabulary by Norman Lewis. All of these are great resources. Words that pop in there are just more likely to show up on the GRE. Now, if you have 4 months, then obviously this method is perfect. You're going to be really immersing yourself in the English language that's written at a high level, stylistically, academically, etc. And reading in this way is really going to help you pick up on the text completions and sentence completions. So hopefully you're going to get the more difficult verbal section after, or I guess you could call it the most difficult verbal section, as it adapts from sections to sections. But I think this approach, learning in context, is where will really work best for those who have more time. 2 months, 3 months, even 4 months. I think one of the users, Hassan, had asked that it's 4 months. He was wondering, is that enough time to use this reading in context method? I would say definitely so. And one way of looking at it, you can put that, you can have, student A, student B. Student A will learn 5,000 words using the old method. Student B will only learn 3,000 words. Who's going to win out? Actually, student B, who learns only 3,000 words, because if he's using or she's using the reading in context method, they will have a much deeper appreciation and knowledge of those words than the superficial knowledge the person who reads from 5,000 words will. So remember, if you have many months, you definitely can use this method, and it's not absolute numbers. It's how much of a handle you have on these words and how they function in sentences themselves. Yeah, have fun using these words though. The main thing is that when you use things, if you notice someone and they're really mean looking and they look like they want to fight for no good reason, you can say, hey, that person is truculent. And so now you're actually using words that are deep inside your brain. And of course, the great thing about reading, which I didn't even mention earlier, is when you've studied words on this before, they're kind of all floating about in your head. And all of a sudden you're reading this random article and there it is. And now your brain really has to think of it on the spot. It's better it encounters the word there with a sort of knowledge of the word versus the day of the test, you go, oh yeah, I kind of remember that word. You don't want to be that person. So again, have fun, use the words, read a lot, and always comment on Magoosh. Read my posts. I always try to sneak in vocab words then. Of course, if you don't know them, look them up or ask me. Okay, besides that, good luck prepping for the new GRE.